Thanks, brother. Brother Brandon, so that was a great, real deep analysis about the need for solidarity work and how to appreciate it in a lot better way. You want to go on to the next question? We're probably going to have a few more minutes of discussion.
Yeah, so the next question might be more so in the form of a statement, but I'm going to try my best to word it into that format. In the West, veganism is done in a way which peripherally opposes the problems of capitalist food production without any need to unite with any social forces, migrant workers, seasonal factors, workers, transportation workers. Can we, or how do we begin to overturn the capitalist production and relationships and these dynamics?
That's a loaded question. Namdi, do you want to answer this, or can I?
Yeah, I mean, well, since obviously if you want to take it first, I'll let you go. And if not,
you go ahead and go first, because sure. I was a little, yeah.
Yeah, so I think you've already really touched upon that a little bit, a lot, about the solidarity question, just the fact that to understand the struggle of indigenous people, and Mexicans are indigenous people.
Yes.
To understand that is to understand their relationship in the production of food in this country. And sometimes I always like to say food, because there are sometimes things that are food stuff that we now think of as food that is being pushed down people's throats, whether it's meat-based or plant-based, right? That there are really questionable things that capitalism produces, and that solidarity with these social forces is really a part of the struggle. I mean, veganism is a health question, which is important, right?
Yes.
And it is something that you can't downplay. But if you use your veganism as evidence of you being progressive or more knowledgeable about what's happening in this world, then you're missing the mark. Because the next real question is, well, how does these foods get to your plate? What is the relationship of the people who produce that food? Are you satisfied with people being able to live off of these pennies, these dollars a day, while you get to sit and have lavish buffets of vegetarian salads and foods and restaurants that are being built? And there's nothing wrong with those things being available, but it's a question about where we stand in solidarity with human beings having what they need to live, right? And it's not about just what you can get to eat, but the people who produce it should have the real benefit of producing that food.
It's so it's such. I said it's a loaded question because what we attempt to do, what white people attempt to do. I remember you mentioned it. I want to backtrack for a second. You mentioned like videos of horrible conditions of animals, pigs and cows and chickens, in the production of meat in this country. And one of my frustrations about how we take on political questions is, again, that we tend to be very short-sighted or narrow in our vision. We'll target a symptom of capitalism and attempt to resolve this one symptom while the entire structure is cancerous and rotten to the core. So with white people in particular, they can rescue, animals from testing facilities, and, they can sabotage meat production companies. They can do all of this, off the chain stuff to rescue animals from what they see as a vicious industry. And it is. I mean, some of these videos, it's like serial killers that are producing the food that we are supposed to be consuming in the society, but it absolves them in their mind from the responsibility of challenging capitalism itself. See, so if I go rescue some pigs, right, or if I go rescue some test tube monkeys, some testing monkeys, it absolves me from my responsibility to challenge cap.
You hit mute, sis.
Yeah, I think she hit mute by mistake.
We can hear you.
Hold on just a second, sorry.
Yeah, we got you.
Oh my God. Hold on. I don't know what's going on with my phone.
Oh, you can't hear us well?
No, I can hear you.
She can.
Yeah, so what it does is it absolves white people from a responsibility to challenge the system that benefits them all the time. So when you talk about being able to eat vegan because migrant workers or farm workers aren't getting paid what they deserve, it's no different than when white people, you hear white hippies say, oh, well, you know, the system's so bad. I'm going to go move into the mountains and I just want a little piece of land and a little house and I just want to live off grid and, you know, just be away from capitalism. Honey, that's not the answer to capitalism. And as a white person, the only answer for white people is solidarity. That's the only answer in a challenge to capitalism is white people solidarity. Because if they are not in solidarity with the masses of oppressed people on the planet, then they are in solidarity with capitalism. There is no in between for them, but they're always attempting to escape responsibility for the role that they play in holding this thing up and propping this thing up, right? So if they're progressive, they want to, you know, they want to take on 1 million projects and programs or what have you, but never ever face capitalism and say, you know, I charge you. And I won't be one of the ones that hold up capitalism, right? Yeah. For Africans who are vegans, you know, it's a different question. It still is the same question in terms of our political understanding. So I think it was correct when the brother talked about how these hyper militant vegans who don't do any work in any other genre of black life, but they're ultra vegans and ultra militant and sporting the RBG wristband or what have you, and they don't bust a grape in the interest of the African working class. As a matter of fact, they have a total disgust and disdain for the African working class. So if they have a disdain for the African working class, then of course they're not going to give a damn about migrant workers or farmers or any other people who help to produce the food that now is becoming more and more available to Africans. You cannot, it doesn't matter what we're into, we cannot escape the primary issue, which is the contest that we are in with the opposition, which is capitalism.
That's right. Capitalism and imperialism, absolutely. One thing that I guess I'll add this, there's a brother here who is doing really great work around food sovereignty. And one thing that he raises is not necessarily just a question of veganism, though I believe he is a vegan or a vegetarian, is that this thing of food culture. What happens when Africans have the ability to grow and raise their own food, right? To have access to being able to produce your own food. One thing that we've looked at is that, like in places in the Caribbean and Africa, if you live near water, you by necessity get most of your food from the ocean because of its abundance. You don't necessarily say, well, seafood is more healthy than eating a pig or eating a cow. You just happen to get the benefits of eating, but food culture dictates what people are eating. And that's another part of the discussion about veganism. I used to be a vegetarian. One of the problems I realized with my vegetarianism was I used to eat vegan deli slices, vegan chicken cutlets, vegan this and that, you know, vegan burgers. And so the food culture that I inherited was still the same culture built around meat. I just had these weird products that were told to me that were vegan, but now they were highly processed, right? So part of the question is also where people live and how people get access to food is also a big part of diet and how we make healthy choices, not just whether it's vegan or whether it's meat.
I think that's a really great assessment, Nnamdi. I really do, and it's important. When the brother talked about the importance or the culture of eating locally as opposed to being and seasonally, what we're experiencing in terms of even health problems in this country has so much more to do with, one, our stress level. And as far as I'm concerned, at least from the perspective of medicine that I practice, one of the most seriously untalked about contributors to disease for Africans is unresolved emotional strain and trauma. And second to that is improper food and drink, right? And so eating seasonally is one of those issues. And there's a book one of the interviews that I did when I was doing the show was with this guy named Dr. Peter D'Adamo. He wrote the book, 4 Blood Types, 4 Diets, Eat Right for Your Type.
Yeah.
And it was a really interesting book. Most people just go to their blood type and just read what they're supposed to